Good afternoon. It's an evening, so good evening. Hello. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the PP1 podcast, proudly presented on the Dean Blundell Network. We are on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're on Google. Hey, we're on Amazon. Hey, Amazon. What? I don't know. What do you say? Hey, Amazon, play PP1 podcast. And they'll do it. They will do it. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. If you want to comment along, I'm opening up the chat for you folks on Facebook and YouTube. Come on in, say hi. We're here for little time, not a long time. I got my good buddy Ted. He's ready to move, so I think he's literally ready to move. He's got the clothes on his body. I think he'll be wearing for the next week before you move into the new place, right?
That could get ugly.
Yeah. So looks like it's like, are you guys saving money by turning off the heat as well? Like you got a toque on and a jacket.
Oh yeah, actually, we just got back from dinner, so we're at that stage in the move where you're not cooking meals at home anymore. Like everything is like takeout, or it's I guess nowadays it's skip the dishes, or you're like literally going out. Like it's too much right now. I need to get back to like having some home cooked meals because I want my own space back, and it's no longer your own space when it's like filled up with boxes and
a bear in the background.
Packages, boxes, and bags.
Fix it up here, bring it back there. And we've got a good friend of the show on the IV cam. We're not going to input an IV, but that's what it's called on his side. Dr. John Lutz. Is it Lutz or Lutz?
It is Lutz. You got it right for the first time.
Dr.
Nobody
John
ever does,
Lutz.
so.
From Move Health and Wellness. He's an Avalanche fan, folks, which we're not going to hold against him because, well, they've won more Stanley Cups than the Canucks, so he's already in a better spot than we are. And from a young age, he cheered for those Avalanches, and now they're still better than the Canucks. So, but that's okay. We like John, and he's a chiropractor. He's going to say a few things. We're going to have a chat with him. So we're diversifying. We're growing our podcast portfolio by looking like we know what we're talking about. So we brought John in. John, welcome to the show.
We bring the people in who know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. This is what we do.
Why am I here then?
We were really hoping you were going to carry the show today.
All right. I do lift some things, so I might be able to do it.
Off to a rough start, I guess. So we were just chatting with John about his 2 TVs and how he's more well off than both Ted and I are. But it's okay. He's got a great setup.
Put up.
Exactly. Exactly. He gets it already. So John, like I said, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming by. I know it is a little bit past your bedtime, but hopefully you can hang out for the special occasion here. So if you fall asleep, we'll carry the show. Don't worry, it's fine.
Perfect.
It's past his bedtime because we just discovered that he's an early riser for the gym. Like, what time do you start your workouts in the morning?
So usually I'm up at 6, get to the gym like 6:45-ish. Then I usually go straight from there to the office. So it gives me some time to like warm up, cool down, not be sweaty for patients, that sort of thing. So shower afterwards, of course, all that kind of stuff. But usually workouts are like an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the day. So
he's a gamer. Yeah. You're a gamer. Good boy.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Well, like
all those back there, huh? That's like those are like old Xbox 360 games. I don't even think I own an Xbox 360 anymore. So I don't know. What can I get? Like
just for decor.
GameStop might give me like 8 cents for each of them, or whatever they do these days. I don't know.
Give you a lollipop. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it, John. So as we said, you are a licensed chiropractor. Maybe fill us in. Like, I mean, obviously we're like a hockey show, but kind of fill us in on basically kind of what you go through and what you kind of cover, and maybe there's a few things that people have like either myths or maybe preconceived notions about what a chiropractor is or what they don't do or something like that. Maybe give us a quick fill in and we can kind of go from there.
Sure. Chiropractors are big musculoskeletal specialists. That's the big thing they always talk about. I think the thing we're most commonly known for is cracking your back or adjusting or whatever fancy term it has. Different people give it different names, but that's basically like the popping of your spine and other joints and stuff like that. And while that's kind of a part of chiropractic, it's a lot more than that. We have a pretty wide scope. So I do a lot of soft tissue work, which is also pretty helpful for most people, especially in like pain relief. I do the cracky backy if you ask for it, but it's not like a big part of what I do. And I do a lot of like exercise and rehab based stuff. So usually the big thing is just finding movements that people can't do or haven't been able to do because of their pain and kind of returning back to that. And so it's almost blurs the line between physical therapy and chiro, but it's
Mhm.
kind of important that you do so. Chiros that just adjust back and stuff like don't get great long-term results and don't teach people to help themselves, which I think is like a big tool. People should be able to help themselves rather than strictly rely on a practitioner. So yeah, we're a little more well-rounded conservative in our office. And I
You
have
cut out.
some just
There you go.
I have some strict like exercise therapy sessions that just like we only teach people exercise or recovery or things like that. And I don't do any of the adjusting or soft tissue work. So it's
Okay.
really just people's choice. But usually, like my most effective tool is teaching people corrective or therapeutic exercise. So
Interesting. Um, how often would you say that, like, if someone is coming to see you like regularly, what is regularly for chiropractic? Like, is it? I mean, me and my family, we go like once a month, and get adjusted. And I mean, I seem to feel great. I mean, I also get back into the same rhythm of doing the stupid things that put me right. That we come back there and like, oh, thanks for keeping that kind of aligned. But like, is once a week? Is it like, are you seeing people more than that?
So usually I'm very condition specific, right? So if you have like an acute condition or just gotten an injury, I like to see you more frequently early on, and I still don't see people crazy frequently, like max twice a week if they like just hurt themselves.
Mhm.
But as we move into more of what you've got, what is usually what I call a maintenance patient, like I'm lucky if I see that person. Some people like it once a month. Some people like it every 3 months. I put that ball in their court because I think it's more important that they decide rather than I tell them. Especially if they don't have an injury or they just want to like learn stuff. It's like, hey, you want to come in and learn more? You want to workouts, you want to talk more about your daily life, like let's do it. But I don't force people to come in that often. Like I don't like it when the dentist does that to me, so I'm not going to do it as a chiropractor to people. And I think when you put the ball in their court, people are more inclined to actually use it rather
Mhm.
than when you put them on like a strict regimen. So
Yeah, then they don't feel like they're forced to be there and like, "Oh, well, he told me I gotta be back," so
exactly. And especially if you're not in pain, like I don't see it being a crazy benefit. Like obviously you feel better afterwards, everybody does, but if you're
Mhm.
not in pain, like I'm not going to force you and be like, "Hey, this is going to help you. This is going to be this miraculous thing that keeps your life intact." Like it's not like that when you're not in pain. It's just a nice to have. So
Right, right. Ted?
What like do you spend a lot of time working with athletes and injury recovery from like an athletic standpoint? And if so, like is that something that pairs pretty effectively with regular rehab that they might get from physiotherapy? Do you see people kind of doubling up that way?
I do see a lot of that. A lot of athletes, especially like as I've got my name out around my gym and like the sports leagues I play in and things like that, and then like higher level athletes as well. And usually they tend to like they like the rehab that we do in our office or that I do, because usually it's a little bit more functionally based on what they do. And so I try to target all my exercises to what they want or what they do in their sport or people that they do in their jobs, that sort of thing. And so it's kind of important. A lot of I don't want to bash any other profession other than my own because that's something I do. But physical therapists tend to do a lot of passive modalities, like put you on stim, put you on ultrasound, do that kind of stuff, rather than physically work with you and exercise. So there's a lot of PTs neglecting doing that. And I think if a good physical therapist is doing exercise with somebody, I'm not going to compete with them. I'm not going to try to like say, hey, no, do my exercises instead. I'll be like, hey, here's an addition to that, but I'll never like take away from what they're doing. Because I think if they're just trying to get them moving, which is really the base goal with a lot of people, then that's more than fine with me. So it's just when you stick people on passive modalities and like waste their time and do that kind of stuff, I'm not a big fan of that. But
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I think I've even run into that before when you hurt yourself or you have like a major injury. Maybe like I think for me it was when when I blew my PCL. It was like you're getting these regular visits into a physiotherapist. Maybe this person wasn't the right person for me, but it was like you going in there and you're sort of hooked up to a machine for 20 minutes or whatever, maybe a quick minute and a half with the physiotherapist. And then you're out the door with like a list full of exercises that you may or may not do over the course of the year. So it's kind of a neat idea when you think about maybe pairing the two and sort of doubling up and then maybe adding something to your toolbox, I guess, in your recovery.
And it's very important. I mean, that's a brutal injury, a PCL. So, like, I mean, you like Connor McDavid's recovery with his a few years
And all
ago,
he does
like
is
that
talk
one.
about it too, John. All he
Yeah.
does, like, oh, yeah, PCL. Like, we get it. We know. We get it. You've recovered.
I
You're
mean,
amazing.
good for him to recover because a lot of people don't. So, I mean, but with that kind of thing, like the passive modalities, it's like it's just such a waste of your time because you don't get that time with a physical therapist. And then they send you home with that long list, and that list is daunting. Like there was a study done, I think, a year ago that says the magic number for home exercise is 3. You give people 3 exercises and they're most likely to follow it. You see a list of like 10 exercises, you're not doing it. You see a list of 2, you're like, this guy doesn't care about me. He's not doing anything. So
Right.
3 has been proven to be this like magic number. And I get a lot of compliance when I only give people 3, is what I've noticed. And so in office, we'll do more. But when I send them home with like their PDF that I give them and send to their email, always
Yeah.
3. And I see way more compliance that way.
Interesting.
So this is a hockey show, obviously, and we watch these players go headlong into the boards, whether it's to deliver a check or miss a check, or it could be a goalie sprawling all over the place. And like I just think to myself, like how I would be feeling in a situation like that. Do you have any like high level athletes sort of under your umbrella? And if so, do you feel like do hockey players get different recovery path than the average person or a different athlete, for example?
So yeah, they obviously have a quicker recovery response, right? Any high level athlete, like between genetics, they obviously are slightly higher in genetic ability than we are. So their recovery is a lot higher. They also train a lot harder. They have access to a lot more stuff than we do. So like usually they're seeing a crazy amount of support between chiropractors, physical therapists, nutritionists, like all that kind of stuff. Like isn't it like Russell Wilson spends like 4 million a year on his health or something? Like
Yeah.
just things like that that are insane, right?
I'm
And
just under
so
3.
they obviously have all these like tools that are just crazy for them and that they have access to. And so like we can play a part in that, but I don't think any one practitioner plays a part in that. And also their like natural ability to heal and recover from these injuries is like they get all the attention in the world, right? They get like 6 hours with the team doc when they get hurt every day. So it's a lot more attentive than you can give to your like routine clients that come in or patients that come in and see me. Like I have longer appointments than a lot of chiropractors. Like a lot of chiropractors are like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, adjust you, you're out. Like my smallest appointment is 15 minutes and I have 30-minute appointments and hour-long appointments. So it's really whatever or whatever I think is best for you. I usually never push the higher number ones unless some like, hey, you have longer appointments. But yeah, so it's hard in just routine practice to like treat athletes the same way as what they get from their doc and their like team chiro and things like that. So
Like I mean, a chiropractor by trade, but you're almost more of like a kind of a hybrid therapist. Like with that, like maybe, and therapist is probably the wrong term, but you kind of cover more than just like I guess the stamp of a what a chiropractor would be known as essentially.
sure. I mean, it's like the big thing with pain is we use this thing called the biopsychosocial model. And so with pain, it's like, and this relates kind of to it being Bell Let's Talk Day and like mental health month and all that kind of stuff. Pain is multifactorial. So it's not just an injury. Like when you get into pain, it's not just an injury. Like is a headache because you hit your head against something sometimes, but not always, right?
Mm.
And so it can be due to like a lowered threshold for feeling pain. And so that's where the bio and the psych model comes in. And the social part. So bio is like your tissue and the damage and stuff like that. The psych model is like how you're feeling. Like, are you depressed? Are you stressed? Have you not been sleeping well? That kind of stuff. And then there's a social model, which is like how your relationships are going in the real world, like how you're interacting with the world around you. And all those things influence pain more than people think. So it's kind of important that we address those with patients as well. And so half of what I do is just listen to people, and then while I work on them, make their muscles and their joints feel better, and then teach them exercises that make them feel more better. But and early on, it's just I spend the first like half an hour of my exam just listening to people and letting them talk about whatever's going on. And if they go off on a tangent, like we just let them talk, and you just have to be there for somebody, you know? So it's like half being that kind of therapist and then half being like an actual manual therapist with my hands. So
Now, what and I'm going to speak kind of on our family chiropractor. What I used to think about the chiropractic, I guess, profession, like as you kind of mentioned, like the cracky backy, like you get your adjustment, everything gets back into alignment, and you're good to go. But I noticed, I guess, when I pulled my hammy a couple of years ago, I mean, I got physio for that, and I think I had like 4 things she gave me like each time, which was one over. But
Yeah, sorry, Johnny talks about his pulled hammy all the time.
I do. It happened. I recovered. It's
okay, you too.
way more important than a PCL. Oh, 3 letters. You got the whole alphabet damaged. Great, good stuff. But what I noticed, like my daughter sprained, she had like a high ankle sprain in speed skating, and we weren't sure if there was a break or not. They couldn't quite figure out in the first X-ray. But it was interesting how he kind of brought out the little fork and kind of put it on the bone and kind of twinged it. And he basically explained, like, again, this isn't a back; he's kind of full body. But it was interesting how he said, well, the vibration, if there is a break there, that it'll basically, vibrate that crack or that fracture, and you'll actually be able to then feel the pain. And she said there was nothing there. That was one thing. And then I just noticed as well, like even just like your mobility, your full range of motion. He could tell, like I would say, yeah, I've kind of got this, this pain in my glute, or I don't feel like I'm sitting properly, and just kind of figures out. And all of a sudden, you guys are able to kind of figure out just these little things that we would think have nothing to do with anything. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, well, if we adjust this part of your leg, all of a sudden your posture turns out like this, everything's even out. There's so much more to it, is basically what I'm getting to, than just kind of
talk about some of this stuff too.
Yeah.
This is going right down my alley of some of the misconception with chiro. Yeah. So we'll go to the tuning fork right away. So that test, although good for if it's positive, there's a good chance they have a fracture. If the test is negative, you can't say there's not a fracture. So people don't really people think of this with like COVID testing and stuff like that. Like just because you have a negative test doesn't mean you might not have it. And just because you have a positive test means you might not have it. In this scenario, like if the tuning fork causes you pain, there's a good chance it's fractured. If the tuning fork doesn't cause you pain, we still don't know. We can't rule it out. So it's like a cool test for that. But when it doesn't cause you pain, you're like, okay, well, I'm still on the fence. Like I've had this with a rib fracture in the past where the tuning fork didn't cause them pain, but I was like, I don't know. It kind of seems like you might still have one.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, that's kind of an interesting part. The alignment thing. So that is a big buzzword in chiropractic that has been thrown around for, I don't know, chiropractic was like 1897 or something like that. It's been thrown around since then that your spine like goes out of a line, and like bones and hips and all this kind of stuff go out of alignment. They don't move that way, unfortunately. So there hasn't been a study to ever prove that that's how this works. And like chiropractors don't put them back in line or anything like that. I always use this example with people. If we could move your bones back into place or like in line, don't you think hockey players or football players might be dead every time they take a hit? Like I'm not applying a lot of force in comparison to those guys, and I can move your bones. Like if they could move your spine like that, there's a good chance you're not seeing tomorrow. So the alignment thing isn't a real thing, and like it doesn't pinch nerves and do that kind of stuff. The adjustment does give pain relief, but it's because it like releases endorphins, and so usually it gives about 3 days of pain relief, and like people temporarily feel better and like they'll stand taller because of this endorphin release, and so it'll make them feel like things are more in line, or like one shoulder's not higher than the other, or things like that. And so it's a very interesting phenomenon that gets thrown around, like that we realign spines and stuff like that, and that's not really the case actually. So
he's not just a gorgeous mustache.
I love it. Yeah, this is all stuff that I've actually wondered about, so it's cool to get the
I have a whole list of this stuff. So Like with the alignment thing, it's just it gets thrown around a lot, and like the adjustment is like this be all end all treatment and stuff. And like while it's effective for a lot of people, like the research on it is pretty interesting. And so like chiropractors who strictly do it are giving a large placebo effect. Like it's if you believe it works, it'll work. And so my profession's going to hate me for saying this, but every paper that's come out, it ties placebo or it doesn't outperform placebo. And so it's just like if you believe it's going to work, it'll work long term, but it has been shown to usually work like for like 3 or 5 days of pain relief, and then it sort of comes back, and then kind of feel stuff again. But if you're not in pain and you get it done to you, you will feel better because it gives that like endorphin release and like the gas comes out and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting in that regard. Yeah.
So
Is that more like muscles?
he's like the chiropractic truther here. This is great. So I mean, you've got a whole list of these like common misconceptions. So I mean, this is stuff that we could hit like every time we have you on the show. You could just break another one. You like some sort of Penn and Teller thing going on here.
So I got a question just to build off of that. So
for sure.
Obviously we're not adjusting bones, but
yeah,
when the common person goes in then for, or anybody really goes in for, as we would call it, an adjustment, when these things are being done, like when an adjustment is being done or the stretching or whatever, like is it a lot more than based on like that is something is bothering like a nerve or inflamed tissue or muscle or something? Like what is actually happening then, as obviously not bones, but like fill in the regular Joe, like what is happening when we're going in, like what is being adjusted?
So in the adjustment, basically, when you flex forward or you extend backward, like you're moving your spine, right? It's a very stable structure. And this is something people don't believe. They think like, I don't have a stable spine. My spine's like out of alignment. It moves and all this kind of stuff. Like it is one of the most stable structures in the body. It has so much like soft tissue, ligaments, muscles, like pulling it into a certain place. So it moves when we move our body and things like that, but it doesn't like go out of alignment. And so in the adjustment, like it's like a translation of moving the joint, kind of like in the same way when you rotate your body and your back pops. It's the same thing with an adjustment. Chiropractors aren't as specific as they like to think they are. So you just grabbing a chair behind you and doing that twist and you feel your back pop, like it's just taking that joint to its end range of motion and then quickly like moving it so that gas gets released, and these gas bubbles come back in like 30 minutes or something. And so you could just do it again and then do it again every 30 minutes because the gas just builds up in there from moving the joints. And so that's what the adjustment is. As far as like pain in low back and stuff like that, it really depends on the presentation, but we've actually determined that like 90% of low back pain is non-specific. And so it gets managed the same way as in what I said before. You take exercises that the person can't do or like movements the person can't do and try to teach them to do those in a comfortable way. And so you start trying to build those movements back. And so pain will be present in these exercises, but it's to build that back. And so it's less about like realigning the spine and just getting people back to what they want to do as fast as possible. And so, yeah, it's the non-specific thing always makes people feel weird because like I want to know exactly what's going on, and that's kind of not true. Like I could say what muscle it is and guess, but there's a good chance I'm wrong, and there's a good chance it's a multitude of things, right? So it's not really safe to like just say, oh yeah, it's this and that's it. Like people get scared when they hear certain things. Like if somebody has normal wear and tear arthritis, like osteoarthritis, they think my back's never going to get better. This is it. I'm done. Like I can't get better because of this. And so diagnoses like that are just fear in people, and that makes them get worse rather than better. And so we say non-specific low back pain and tell the person this is how we're going to manage it, this is the best method for you, and that tends to be way more effective than scaring people. Giving people a positive outlook, and this goes back to like the mental health thing, giving people a positive outlook on their pain is way more important. So the long-winded rant about that, but yeah,
I like you.
Thanks.
I like you. You're a truther. You're the good kind.
I like to talk. What can I say?
You fit
We
right
can
in.
relate that back to X-rays and chiropractic. So I don't know if your chiropractor shot X-rays.
No, they don't let me operate that. So
Okay, good. because it's very common when you go into a chiropractic office before they'll treat you, they have to shoot X-rays of you, and you have to pay for them, and
What?
Yeah,
very
this happened to me too.
unnecessary. In the
Oh,
absence of like red flag issues like history of cancer or like low back pain over like 75 or things like that, there is not really a reason to shoot x-rays. Like there's a whole list of red flags, we recognize them as chiros, but
whoa.
a lot of people just shoot them for no reason, and like it's so unnecessary. I've had to send out for imaging twice in my entire time as a chiro. Once was because of that rib fracture and I wanted to
Mhm.
know, which makes sense. I can't treat a broken bone. So,
Fair.
and then the other one was a patient who was very insistent on getting an MRI for their low back, and that was against my advice. But he asked me for 3 months if he could get an MRI, and I said, okay, I'll write you the referral. Like it's no cost to me. But yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, so not really necessary. A good way for chiropractors to make money off of people, but the amount of x-rays I see that are like completely normal and have nothing that would change my treatment plan is just it's so high. There's so many like people who are like, you have to look at my x-rays, and then I get them. They got them from past chiros or whatever, and I look at them and I'm like, okay, so you're normal, you exist. Like
Yeah.
what do you want from me? So
This is like so validating for me. Like I remember my first experience walking into, I'll just call it a Cairo because that's what you called it.
yeah,
And it was like this whole list of questions all the way down to like where you dropped as a baby to
yeah,
like
Am I peaking?
this requires x-rays. And it was like, okay, let's get x-rays. Oh, the x-rays cost $300. Well, I'm not going to make a call like that. I'm going to
yeah.
consult my wife. Well, can you just call your wife? I'm like, no, that's not how this whole thing is going. I'm not entirely sure how I got roped into this conversation. The whole thing just kind of felt dirty and icky, and then turned me off from the whole thing for like years past that. So it's really validating to hear this from
It's
you. I
like
appreciate it.
it's very common too, like when they get the x-rays afterwards, like you'll see these markings on it and they like write all these things on it, like things that'll scare you, like this is not a normal cervical curvature, or like you don't have a normal neck curve, or your back is too rounded, or things like that.
Like
And
Mr.
like,
Perfect in
yeah,
wrestling.
and this they're comparing you to a person that doesn't exist, because I like to tell people the perfect person is weird. Normal people are not perfect. So like it's just, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like you are normal for being imbalanced. Balanced people are weird. Those don't exist. I've never seen a perfectly symmetrical human. Like you can see right now, this shoulder sits higher when I sit here.
You
Like
haven't met
am
me.
I
I'm perfect.
it's like I mean, true. Nobody's perfect. Call you nobody, right? So
Actually, you have met me. I'm not perfect. I'm sorry. I take that back.
okay. We
Okay.
all have a high shoulder. Kaylee would say different, I'm sure.
She's
Had to
brutal.
massage you. She oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I
There's
go
a
see
reason
her
I brought
tomorrow,
her
I
in
think.
though. Like
We're
she's
gonna have
got
her on
to
the show. I think like
yeah,
next month. Like I would like to
yeah.
have her at least one time on our
Oh for
show.
sure.
That girl is a monster in a good
Yeah.
way.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I mean that like again, anybody that has had massage therapy or physio or anything, like you're trying to get back to what you believe is your peak, or at least operational self. Um, I went in, as I said last week, and it was I had a different, like I had a preconceived notion of essentially what I believed I needed to have done, and I came out of there with a very different mindset. Also, a little bit of after pain because of how exhausted my body had just been worked. But I mean, felt amazing after. But like, she's no joke. Like,
Oh,
I mean,
she's great at what she does.
I'm
Like
it's
stoked. I see her
unbelievable.
tomorrow at like 2 o'clock. So
Yeah,
see how it
she's
goes.
going to.
I'll report back.
We're gonna have her on the show for sure because I want to pick her
I'll
brain
see you
too.
there. So you can just tell
Yeah.
me right after how you feel. But
So
she
John,
I
oh sorry,
we work
finish up.
well together because like she also gives exercises, right? She believes in like the aftercare and that kind of thing, and so
Sure.
it's really good in that regard. And like I can only do so much muscle work in a visit. I spend more time doing the exercises with people, so
Yeah.
when I can't give people the muscle work I think they need, it's good to have her as an extra utility and like
Yeah.
all over the body and stuff. And so like I can make most people go see her. Like she was my massage therapist before we brought her here, and so like I know what she does and I have faith in her, and so she's great. Like even when I get sore after the gym, I'm like, you don't have anybody right now, like work on me, I need
Yeah.
this, I need to get
So like
faster
let
in
her
this.
know I've
So
been doing my
What a
lunges.
nice convenience, eh?
I've been
oh
doing my
yeah, it's
lunges.
great.
I've been doing like my shower exercise. We're getting my rotation. So just let her know. So like
I'll
I'm
make
good.
sure she knows. Yeah,
Yeah.
she'll
I
come
want to
after
make
you if you
sure.
don't.
Yeah, exactly. I'm
Just so everyone knows, she has a safe word. So
She
that's how
does.
brutal it can get in there. Yeah.
I
It's
like when she
pizza.
said that, I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm on the table now, so it's a little late. Okay. Yeah, all right. It didn't have to say it, so
No, I'm
Good.
nervous. We'll see how. Yeah.
it was good. I mean,
She
I know you have a higher pain tolerance than I do, Ted. So
PCL, that's why.
the PCL, yeah, that's like the. Actually, it's funny too. Like we've got a good friend of ours, Matt, and we've talked to Matt before. I don't know if we've had him on the show. That guy, like, it's like injuries look for him, and like he's an absolute like gamer on the field. Like he will go for every play. Like if it's in his wheelhouse, he will make the attempt to make the play, whether it's hockey or baseball or football or what have you. And that guy just like invites injuries to his body, but like he goes all out. Like he wears chucks on the baseball field. I've seen like a line drive go off of his foot. Did he break his foot that time or pretty close?
He did. He
Anyway,
broke it. Yeah.
he's like the guy's out there, and like it's funny because he's a little careless in his apparel, but um he's all out. Like he does not care. He's team first and himself second. Unfortunately, he does suffer because of that. I have one question though for you, John, and then we'll give you you can have shameless plug time for a minute. On X-rays. Now this, because I just looked at one this morning for my daughter's ankle. The
Yeah.
letters on the side. So there was one today. It said BMF, and I'm like, oh, that's rad. But is it just the person's initials that is like says that took that photo, or is that something else? Like the letters that like a two letter or three letter. Is that just the person like their signature?
It usually depends on who shoots it. Like some have formal labels on them. Like
Yeah.
ours used to have like full on patient name, like the
Right.
name of the view and stuff. And so
Yeah.
it could be the projection that they used. So whatever view choice they used for her ankle, because there are
Yeah.
like 7 different versions of shooting the ankle.
Okay.
Could have been that as well.
It said
Could have
BMF.
been
I'm
her.
like, that's
Yeah.
rad.
Yeah, so it could have been the initials. I mean, the only letter I usually know that's consistently on there is left or right. So,
Okay.
uh,
Didn't see
big
that.
magnet for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. John, we're gonna have you back for sure. Because I
do it.
mean, I can see you're just like I could keep going if you let me. So
Oh, that was
I want
2 out of like 15 things I could
Okay.
talk
Well,
about. So,
that's great. We'll have things dialed in for the next time for sure.
we'll put you on a retainer. As we said, you're with Move Health and Wellness, and that is in the Jack Nathan Medical. Is it Center or I can't remember
yeah,
the last
center,
name.
I believe. Yeah,
Something like
yeah.
that. Anyway, it's in the Walmart in Kelowna. Which is great. Tons of parking, as we all know. When you go to chiro or massage therapy or physio or whatever, there's never parking. So that alone is one of those like key things. You just walk in. Heck, you can pick up a thing of Pringles and a Gatorade when you walk out from Walmart. So you're good to go. Maybe you forgot toilet paper. Who knows? But maybe shameless plug time. Like just, I mean, we do have an ad that runs in here, but it's nothing like the real thing. So by all means, give a shout out to where you're at and let everybody know.
So yeah, like Ryan said, we're at Move Health and Wellness. We're a relatively new clinic located out of the Jack Nathan Medical Center inside Walmart. Right now, we offer corrective exercise or exercise therapy, chiropractic care, both offered by me. We also have virtual counseling, which Mental Health Month is very important. And then we have massage therapy, who is also great. It's a great tool to have. We plan on expanding. We have a lot of years of knowledge between everybody inside the office. So it kind of works well as a team. We're all kind of friends who hang out outside too. So it's a nice environment. Very bright, open clinic, relatively new, clean. All the restrictions are in place, so we make sure we take care of everything. You don't have to scan your vaccine passport because it is a healthcare clinic, so everybody's allowed in. So whether you're vaccinated or not, you can come in. Yeah, we take care of everybody. People of all different aches and pains. Whether you're in pain, you're not, you want to learn more. We're there. So
Beautiful, love
Awesome.
it.
Do you guys direct bill?
we do, yeah. We direct bill. I'm also with ICBC and WorkSafe. And Kaylee's currently working on her ICBC, but she can also be direct billed, and I believe she's with WorkSafe. So
Man, all in one.
Nice.
I like this. I mean, it feels shameless, but at the same time, like this is real life stuff. We support real life
oh,
stuff. So,
I mean,
um,
I'm just happy to let people know that chiropractic isn't what they used to. So I get people in the office all the time, and I'm like unteaching them, which is
yeah, but you know what?
well,
Half of that is, I mean, that's necessary too. Like you want to be able to fix proper, not fix, but to yeah, I guess rehab
Yeah.
or be therapeutic
yeah,
properly.
You're like rehabilitating people's conceptions too, right? I mean, it's like it's
exactly.
progressive. It's a cool idea.
Hmm.
For like middle of the road pricing, right? We price right at the middle of all of Kelowna, so on the upper end, not on the lower end. We're just right in the middle, and some of the places priced with us give you like 3-minute visits. So by comparison, you get a lot more time with each of us. So
Love it.
Excellent. Perfect. Thanks, John.
hey, thank you
I mean,
guys.
seriously, thank you very much for coming by. This is when we were kind of chatting originally on putting something like this together. Um, I mean, it definitely. I was excited. This is something that I think, especially once we get closer to baseball season, and I know Ted, you and I are chomping at the bit to get that going in golf season as well.
Let's just
There's
get
a lot
the
more
snow to go away
practice.
first.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, it's lasting so long this year.
Oh
it's
man,
gone from my house.
Weather does. Yeah.
They had the absolute diggers and dump trucks this morning on our road, so it was a full court press by our house, so it was great. Um, John, thank you so much for coming by. We do appreciate it. Like you said, a Move Health and Wellness, folks, go check him out. Clearly, he knows what he's talking about. We'll have him back, and we're gonna get Kaylee back to you. You're gonna meet her. That chick's awesome. So thanks, John. Go Avs, go! I
Thank you
guess.
guys. Oh,
Oh, geez. Anyway,
Thanks,
have a
John.
great one. Thanks, buddy.
guys.
Okay, that is our good new friend, John Lutz. I like this guy.
Yeah,
I
cool
like him.
guy.
I like him a lot. That was a lot of fun. Did you learn something? I learned something.
I did. Yeah, I learned a lot.
That was I don't know. I like learning. And so we were chatting right before, like kind of brought it up with him, like, hey, we didn't really know him kind of, but like, hey, like, where are you at? Who are your teams? And he's like, yeah, I follow the Canucks. He just throws out a Bruce. There it is. I'm like, all right. You don't have to be a Canucks fan, but you're well known. You get it. You got it figured out. So,
God, could you imagine doing like 6:30 gym times though?
I can like I saw
Part of me thinks he's a little bit crazy just because he said that. I don't know.
a little bit. That's okay. What I've like. It's funny. Most of us can't wake up for like 6:30, like just in general. But for me, like I will do if I had like a 6 o'clock tea time, or if we had like 6 o'clock ice time, like the way it is in Kelowna, like getting ice times next to impossible for like Shinny or whatever. It's funny how you can do that and you're motivated, and by the time you hit that first golf ball or you get on the ice for that first stride, it's like it doesn't matter. And it's the complete opposite. Like midnight, like a game of pickup, midnight hockey, most days I'm sleeping. And yet, I could be there. First shot, I mean I'll be falling down, but as you all know.
I think you're hard on yourself.
There's truth to it, so unfortunately. There is documentation. So
We're not hockey players. That's why we're on a podcast right now.
That's true. That is true. So as I said, we are part of the Dean Blundell Network. Make sure leave us a review. And why I say that is we haven't had one. I would like to see a 5-star review, and I would like to see an Apple review, and take a screenshot. If you do it, you'll be entered. I've got some of these. I've got some of these, folks. I want to make sure the lighting is good here. How do I do this? How do we do this? There we go. There we go. PP1 Podcast Summer Skates. I have my backyard pair, and then I've got my everywhere else pair. I have they're so comfy. We got the black skate laces. These have taken over my Nikes, folks. That's in my house, and for me, that's a big deal. So leave us a review. I want a new one. I don't want you to amend the one that you sent a year ago. I want new people. I want new people. Come in, send me a screenshot. You can see my Twitter there. And I'm going to give away a pair this week. There you go. Also, I got this in the mail this week.
What's that?
The complete works of Bending on Empty from our good buddy Yerky21. It's every Bending on Empty that was released, and then like kind of like a little preview of why that week's clip was written. There's some other stuff towards the end here as well. There's some QR codes for season teaser videos. How it all kind of started, how it basically got promoted through botch and everything. It's a good read. I'm already to August 2016. Like, you've read a bunch of these, right? The Bending on Empty. Haven't you?
No.
10.
Maybe? I don't think so.
Bro. Bending on Empty, you haven't seen. Yerke, don't think.
I know Yerke. Yeah. I
Okay.
didn't know that it was his thing either.
Yeah. So I'm going to plow through this. I mean, they're all online. It's not like
this whole time I thought he was just this cool dude I didn't realize he had a project. That's cool.
Yeah. So this thing, like, every week he released a little comic strip. And I mean, it's great because it basically has to do with as things are going on. It's good. Like,
so as you're reading through it, you're sort of remembering this point in history over the last 8 years of the pit of sadness.
Yeah. So like they signed Louis like a couple strips ago. Louis Erickson. Like, that was something. The Antoine Roussel signing.
Don't say his name.
It's fine now. There was the chance when they might have got Evander Kane back the long time ago. Man, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. So
it'd be cool to read.
So definitely supported him. I got the softer paperback copy instead of the hardcover, but doesn't make me any less of a person. We did name this week's show Who Wants to Be a Goalie. I did that because the Canucks look like they need a goalie. Spencer Martin now has his second start with the Vancouver Canucks, and he's looked okay. Are they going to trade Halak? Like, is Halak now on the block? Can they move him? Can they ask him to move? What do you think?
I mean, if you can get anything worth of any sort of relevance for either of those guys, then you make the trade.
Totally.
If somebody wants to come in and take Halak off your hands, then whatever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
If Spencer Martin conjures up some decently valuable pick, then you make the trade. So I think it's like it's dealer's choice at that point, right? Whatever the team is asking for, I'm probably obliging.
Yeah.
I do know that there's obviously, a signing bonus that has to go out to Yarrow if he plays X amount of games.
2 more games. Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that because it's a Benning contract, I'm just going to assume he has an NTC. I think he does.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
so,
an MC. So
an MC. So
can't even be sent
by virtue of that, he would probably be a more difficult asset to move.
Right.
But I think, that's the whole reason you sign these guys, right? Like you're not bringing Yaroslav Halak in to be competitive, right? Like they were trying to do with their last brought in goaltender experiment.
Yeah.
They were thinking about sharing starts, and we're not sure. Thatcher's the guy. If you're bringing in a veteran who's got lots of experience, you're bringing him in probably with the intentions of moving him at the deadline. That would be especially if it's not going your way, right? I mean, Verbata was a similar scenario.
Right.
They didn't trade him, but that's kind of what probably should have been done. Thomas Vanek's the perfect scenario, right? Where you moved him for an asset in the form of Tyler Mott.
Which is funny how that comes up now too. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's a whole nother conversation. I think we can probably talk about that too in this episode.
Yeah.
But the Spencer Martin thing is just found money. Like it's very obvious that he's a pro goaltender, right? I mean, even before he's getting his NHL starts, like when I say pro, you're talking about, an AHL goaltender and a starting caliber AHL goaltender at that, right? I mean, I love Mikey DiPietro. I think he's great. I think he's going to be a solid NHL goaltender, but you can kind of see the difference between the two while watching them play. One guy just looks like he's more calm and he's cool. He's seen this before. He's unfazed by it. He's playing within his skill set. And although
that's development based too, like
absolutely.
And I mean, I think that's fairly obvious. Some of it is development based.
Yeah. This isn't like a slag on DiPietro at all, but one of these guys is just a little bit more mature in their development. Right. So again, found money. If there's somebody that wants to take somebody that wants to take Spencer Martin.
No. You keep Martin.
Either or is fine.
I guess, yeah, you're right. But one's going to cost you more.
I think Vancouver would obviously look at moving, Halak if they think that Spencer Martin can hang in there, which I think he can.
Yeah. I mean,
Then
the cap problem's the big one, right? Like,
right. And so big moves are going to be made. Obviously, you know, the head office signings, there's a bunch of big minds in there that are all working together, and I'm sure that everybody agrees that the cap needs to be figured out. And
yeah.
what better way to do that by moving somebody like a Yaroslav Ulak, who really isn't in this team's long-term plans.
No, clearly not. I mean, long-term plans going the other way. Canucks, they hired an AGM, Emily Caston. Is it Castonagay or Castangay? Which is awesome. They also had Rachel Dory.
Castonguay.
That was
Yeah.
brought in. Rachel Dory. They signed what is it? Alvin. What's his
Elvain,
name?
yeah.
Yeah, they got a GM now. There's rumors that there is a new practice facility coming, and apparently the whole blew the seats. Like
What do you mean?
they're getting rid of the red seats. Apparently that's like in the works as well. Like everything,
That's so funny, yeah.
like, isn't that like everything's happening? It's like the Gillis, and I'm gonna say this tongue in cheek, Gillis 2.0. Like it's everything.
It really does feel like that, yeah.
All the like the beyond thinking, all the analytics, and not just hockey analytics, but like life analytics kind of thing. Like, hey, maybe these are things we need to do. Maybe this is money that needs to be spent. You know, this is a direction we need to go. Like the Canucks don't have their own practice facility, which again, I'm not saying that's crucial,
Yeah,
but
the
it's
days of
probably
practicing
something.
at Burnaby 8 rinks are over.
Or UBC or whatever. Like maybe that is a thing. Maybe that is something that they should have. I mean, geez, Seattle has one. Vegas has one.
If you're if you're an NHL franchise, just have your own practice facility.
Yeah. I mean,
Period.
it's an
Full
offsite
stop.
training, especially considering they've got, I mean, Abbotsford's now obviously down the street. You can utilize that for your entire organization, and it's not just the Vancouver Canucks. This isn't everybody spend. This isn't everybody build. So I think again, remember when they changed the dressing room, right? And they got all the new facilities, you know, the new gym, the new everything when they redid all the Canucks, and that was the big unveil, and how that became like kind of that was almost like
It's
the
like, "Oh, shit, that's legit," right? It was like the day they signed Matt Sundin, right? It brought even though the Sundin experiment didn't work out, it kinda did, right? Because
yeah,
it brought this level of legitimacy where
right,
a top end free agent made his way to Vancouver,
totally.
based on the lure of quality, right? So
I mean, that was still funny the way that all shook out,
it
but
was hilarious.
like they're gonna give him how much and how come he's not ready, and then he's up in Whistler for 2 weeks and all like that whole story was just great. But he ended up being their best player in the playoffs.
Yeah, he was fine. He was fine.
And you know, worked out. Next thing you know, we're losing Stanley Cups, but that's okay. Um, but you're right. It definitely brings some legitimacy back to the organization. I think it sounds like they're about to hire another AGM. Again, their analytics side
Was
is
it true that Jennifer Botterall's name was being thrown around in there too?
I and it was said though, I think that she
Or did
pulled her name
Caston
out of
Gay?
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think there was something that said she pulled her name out of the hat. So or away
All in
from
all, yeah, all in
regardless.
all, I think all of these moves that were made are just it's oh man,
It's so long.
it's so refreshing. It's just it's forward thinking.
Yeah.
It's progressive. I mean, the fact that the the conversation doesn't end at one man, that it's a uh, it's a almost a conglomerate of minds that are working together, and not everybody thinks the same way, but
Mhm.
they all are renowned and known for their ability to collaborate, right? So you can have different views and different opinions, and it's not going to sour somebody and hurt a
Right.
relationship because of their ability to collaborate. So I just think it is just
Like, remember the wait a sec
it's
guy?
really
They had,
what we've
like,
been
5
waiting
of those.
for.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
like,
There's
but
checks and
they're all
balances
different
all through
versions.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Like, it's
great.
you've got analytics, you've got a good grasp on your analytics side. You've got people that are gonna be in charge, like, multiple people in charge of amateur and pro scouting, as well as, like, the final say kinda people, and then getting all the other stuff done. Again, the stuff that doesn't really like, changing the color of the seats isn't going to make the Canucks win the Stanley Cup. But I mean,
But it's fun, and why shouldn't you pay attention to it?
but it's something like you go and you see a game, and you're like, oh, look at all those red seats from the old regime, the old, like when the building opened. Like these are all those things. Remember, and I brought this up
It's
with
like some
Christine.
Orca Bay stuff.
Yeah, I brought this up with my wife the other day. Remember when Mark Cuban bought the Mavericks?
Oh, I was like, what the fuck are you
Like,
talking
wrong
about?
sport,
Yeah,
bro.
no, I remember that. Of course I do.
And
Yeah.
remember how he had a meeting with the team, like all the players, and he said, like this is public knowledge. He says, "What do you guys need to win a championship? What do you need that you guys want to come to work, be better than everyone else, and what's it going to take for you guys to win?" So I think team plane was one of them. I think new jerseys, something to do with the practice facility, and there was probably
There was DVD players in their stalls
like
at the locker
whatever,
room.
right?
Yeah.
But like you think about that. I mean, Mark Cuban had a few dollars because didn't he sell Yahoo or something like that?
I don't know.
Like
I
he did all
can't
right.
remember it. Yeah,
He did all right. Yeah. But he did all those things, and within it took a little bit longer, and they won after Steve Nash was there, but they won. And he put the wheels in motion to eventually get to, and I think he knew that it wasn't going to happen overnight, but he knew, okay, I'm going to put this on a collision course to success. And eventually it happened, and they were a good team when they won.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is I thought that when the Aquilini group came in, that they were doing that, and
Well,
they were on that path, and then what this strange disconnect happened once they
ego.
decided to change direction from Vino and Gillis.
It was ego. I think they tasted that ultimate and thought, no, we can. And again, I'm speaking what I think could have happened, but I believe they felt they could do it better. They could do it better on their own, and they did it. You know, Francesco was obviously essentially the one in charge, and he did it. He fine-tuned it because now they were at this level where he probably felt he could take a little bit on his own without any discourse to it, right? He probably bit off more than he could chew. And I mean, deep down, and I doubt it, but deep down, I bet he knows he made a mistake and he did it at the wrong point. He probably could have watered what he did down, and we probably wouldn't be in as bad of a position as we are, even before, right? Like there's been a few bright spots, obviously, but overall, I think the team didn't have to go this route. It probably could have been turned around a lot quicker. Benning or no Benning. So anyway, maybe he bit off more than he could. I mean, he did, because I think he's now realizing that, hey, I need to start making some money, so maybe I need to bow out for a bit. Maybe it'll happen again in 12 years.
Yeah.
By then, hopefully, we're not, having to.
What did you think about the GM hiring? Do you like the Elvine hiring?
I mean, based on what I do know, and as you know, like there's some of these things that I'm not as well versed in the knowledge on these. I know.
Yeah, I think unless you're a Pittsburgh guy, you probably don't know a whole ton about him.
But I mean, I did make the joke today that, you remember, we are all Canucks. I do feel like most of us were Penguins. Should be the new saying. They've definitely gone
a
to
lot
that
of former Penguins on this roster.
Yeah, a few. But no, I do like it. I think there was some conversation about when he talked to Pettersson. He's like, yeah, he was eating oatmeal, or like the guy. It sounds like he's super knowledgeable and has a great memory. And I think based on where he's come from, he has seen success. So, I mean, I like success. Great success. It's the Canucks. It sounds like they're making the right moves and they're in important positions. That's all that matters. And I guess Jim Rutherford came out kind of saying today, like, we need to go get some players that are going to get this thing done sooner than later, which means trades or signings or whatever.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's talk that the whole league has been bottlenecked
because of the Canucks
on possible trades that they're going to do to retool for an NHL playoff run, because the Canucks have put a hold on making any moves until they get their head office in their front office in check.
Sounds about right. Typical Canucks, hey.
So it's kind of
like it's so Canucks.
It's like a reverse Toronto thing, right? Right now, Vancouver's the center of the universe. So I mean,
it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, so there's gonna be some major hate slung around here, I think, for the next. I mean, it's all it's all like roses right now because the team is playing significantly better than they have been through the start of the season.
Yeah.
And I think there's this whole fruits of your labor thing that people seem to be feeling, right? Like I still see so many, oh, well, look at the team that Benning built. Like, look how good it's doing. But like it's still faulted at its core when you look at the cap and you look at the decor, right? So there is inevitably changes are going to be made. And I think the writing is on the wall, which players fit as possible trade targets.
Oh, sure.
And so there's going to be some upset fans. There's going to be some really pouty, upset people. And I think that this management group, depending on the trades that end up getting made, is probably, I feel like they realize that this isn't the team to make the playoff run. This isn't the team to make the push, but it's got the pieces on it that they need. So they're going to retool and rejig it to surround those players with better pieces and better help.
That's one Pacific Division team that's figured that out at least. I mean, watching
there's all these rumors going around that Edmonton had all their scouts in the building to watch Spencer Martin.
It's like, yeah, they usually do. They have the scouts anyway, folks.
Yeah, but they were specifically there for Spencer Martin. I mean,
well, did you see that up ice pass that he made? Was that, I can't remember if that was in overtime or in the third period.
Oh yeah, best puck handling goalie since Kirk McLean.
Dude, just like absolute rifle up the ice. Like he's making plays like an offensive minded player would, whether it's goaltending, defense, whatever. I don't mind, like, now knowing who this guy is, like, you feel okay. Like, if we got to throw him in, I mean, Demko, once he comes back, which is I think next game, he's going to play the lion's share aside from back-to-backs, right? So you don't need a guy like Halak. You don't need DiPietro. I know you get taxi squads, but Demko's going to run the ship for the most part. So
it was literally the perfect amount of time for an audition.
Oh yeah, it was
anymore, and I think you could see a couple losses, maybe let in a couple of bad goals, like take a little bit of the luster, the shine off his. But this is like just enough. 2 great games, a huge performance last night versus Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're looking at a guy that could be a possible trade chip, even if it's a throw in to put something over the top to a team that needs goaltending help.
Yeah.
And that's what gets it done.
Yeah. The goal he let in against Edmonton. No, like the Edmonton, like the Draisaitl goal to tie it up, which was just like an absolute
that power play. That power play was fucking bonkers.
Like unreal.
That game was a loss, and I tweeted this out too. But that game was a loss, but it felt so fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Like this team is now, for the first time in I don't know how long, this team is fun and exciting to watch, and plays like there's something.
I mean, you're watching them now.
Yeah, I just started watching the Canucks. Yeah,
guys, you should check them out.
But it's true though, right? And so if that buy-in continues on to whatever shape this roster takes, then that's going to be phenomenal, right?
Let's finish out here because I believe that we've got picks. We're going to finish out with dudes and guys. It is brought to you by Move Health and Wellness, as we saw our good buddy Dr. John Lutz.
Oh, I'm nervous now for my.
I got it, man. I got it. So let's play that clip.
Dude, what does mine say? You guys! Dude, what does mine say? Guys!
It feels like
it's like the most pathetic explosion.
Yeah. It feels like a B movie explosion. Like you can see what it looks like. And like, that doesn't look real. That doesn't look real. Your guy, do you have a guy? Because I can go guys first if you want me to go first.
Yeah, sure. If you got a guy, then hit it or quit it.
I can't remember if I did.
That's an issue if you can't remember.
No, I can't remember if I picked him last week, but I'm gonna definitely pick him this week. Jason Dickinson, and the opportunities that this guy gets are just, they're absolutely unbelievable. He is basically.
I picked him last week.
Did you? So I know Brandon Sutter's gone, so it is quite fitting that Dickinson is taking over the missed penalty shot, or not missed penalty shot, the missed breakaway opportunities, because this is getting like a little bit silly now. He's had some grade A chances, And I mean, he couldn't bury them if they put a shovel in his hand and the hole was half dug. Like, it just can't. And it's like I'm watching and it's just so frustrating because some of these opportunities are just beyond amazing. And then you get a guy like Tyler Mott and he's like, yeah, I'll get the same opportunity. I'll score. No biggie. Like, it's not hard. I'm in the NHL. So Jason Dickinson, you are my guy of the week.
Okay.
You're
All
up.
right.
This is where we transition.
I see you. There's really two. I think we had two opportunities to pick a decent guy this week, and
For sure.
yeah, one could sit on the decor, and the other could sit on in the forward group. And for this week, I'm just gonna go to Dowling. I didn't even know that he was playing in that game.
Fair.
Like, I think that's an issue. I think if you check his stat line, I always go back to us talking about the Thanos show and the 1-1-1 category, right? I mean, you're looking at the stat. I mean, where it's zeros across the board, save for a takeaway and a hit in 7 minutes of ice time.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of guys that are sitting around 7 minutes of ice time. Justin Bailey. I noticed him.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that he's too fast for his own hands. Sometimes he's got a little bit of Mason Raymond.
He's
But I noticed the guy, right?
He's all kinds of speed.
Yeah, he's all kinds of speed. He's fun to watch out there. Vasily Podkolzin only played 7.5 minutes game, but when he's out there, I notice him, and I notice that he's not out there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Dowling would be the other guy. And so I didn't even know that he was playing. And I just don't know exactly what he brings to the team. And he probably isn't on this roster if everybody's healthy. So we'll give him that. But again, he's a guy. He was there, took some shifts.
Mm-hmm.
But I just didn't really notice him, to be completely honest.
That's what the segment's all about. And yeah, I probably couldn't have even told you if he did play last game. Was he actually on the ice?
I mean, it says he played 7.5 minutes. So
no kidding.
My other guy probably would have been Brad Hunt, but
we'll leave Brad Hunt. He had a good game yesterday.
Yeah, we'll leave him out of this.
Yeah. So my dude of the week. Now, I had this picked early. This was a lock, folks. The Defenders in overtime against the Florida Panthers. It was Lamico, I think Highmore, and I forgot.
Are you talking about the fourth line or the third line?
The 4-3 hybrid line that played for like 3 minutes in overtime.
Oh man!
Just gassed. I was gassed for them, and I know you could. It was one of those times you could just tell these guys hated the sport of hockey at that moment. They're just thinking, I don't know what it's going to take. I might have to even take a penalty just to stop the play.
Yeah, they're like, just please don't throw up.
And that's what it was. It was basically Oli Ulevi's like, I would have thrown up there for sure, which is ironic because that's who they were playing. But I was so impressed. It was one of those things. They didn't give up a goal, which was astonishing. They still lost in the shootout, and you know what? Again, it was a point stolen. Realistically, Spencer Martin was a monster in that game. It was just it made no sense why they didn't lose in overtime. And for three guys that were beyond gassed, and they still managed. I mean, they were getting rope-a-doped for sure. They were just toying with them, right? They're like, we're just gonna get that perfect moment. But they still killed it. They still made sure the puck didn't go in the net, and at least it was decided in a shootout, which was also close. So not one single guy, but the absolute insane kill that they had in overtime was the 3rd/4th, which also does not make sense why they were even out there in the first place. Those guys should never seen overtime in the first place.
But. Yeah, I mean I think that by virtue that was the third line, just based on how many minutes it played, right? But
for sure,
that is a perfect fourth line, right? You got some size and some ability there to kill penalties in Lamico, who can also play the center of the ice. You've got great speed in both Highmore and Mott, and both play a very similar game. I mean, Highmore is kind of a dick to play against. There's guys skating around trying to take his head off. If he's that unlikable, I want him on my fourth line.
I want him wherever he's useful, for sure.
Period. Right. So if that was our third line, this team gets healthy. it then levels out as a fourth line, like we're probably in great shape. If you're telling me that that's my fourth line going in, and if Lammikko can handle himself on the dot, then we're probably in great shape there, because those guys can obviously kill penalties and work there. So, man, that's if your dude of the week is the third/fourth line.
And I mean, hey, there were
Real
some
nice.
bright spots, don't get me wrong, but it just stood out so much for me. And I mean, God bless him. God bless him.
Yeah, my dude of the, there's a lot of fun guys to think about here, but
There
I just
was.
don't know. I don't know how you can pass up Spencer Martin, man. I mean, what
are
a
we right
beast! Like,
now?
where did this guy come from? Like, what is happening? We're talking about a third
Playoffs?
string goalie. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's barely the start. I mean, he's the starter in Abbotsford, but I mean, he's sharing the reins with another starter, another AHL starter in our boy Mikey DiPietro. But I think we've talked about him a ton already, so I don't mean to say a whole lot more. But it was just these funny tweets all night, like Spencer Martin doesn't give a fuck. Like,
No.
Spencer Martin, hold my beer. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever. Who needs a penalty kill? Like, I got this. The guy was just everywhere. So I don't know.
His positioning was really good, I thought, overall.
I mean, and when it wasn't good, he was athletic enough to get himself out of trouble. And there was, there was some, that save he made in overtime prior to getting scored on, where he slid across the ice to his left.
Yeah.
I think a better play shot that goes in, but whatever, he got there to give the effort to make the save, where I think a lot of guys might not have had the gifts or the gas to get over there. So yeah, I just don't know what else I can say about this guy. Might be the last we see of him. That could just be it for Spencer Martin.
Maybe not.
But COVID's a funny thing. But this talk of Ryan Johnson knowing that he needed more than one quality goaltender, and Artur Silovs getting COVID, and DiPietro getting called back in, and then Martin, what was it, asymptomatic, gets to play again, and just craziness, just absolute crazy. Which we've seen these shenanigans before with Canuck goaltenders, but they haven't exactly played out like this. So kudos to Spencer Martin, dude of the week.
And you know what? Like, a bang on pick. I kind of was wondering if you're going to go that way, and we'll finish up in a second here. But it makes you think that if he put in that kind of performance, and he's not going to do that every night. I mean, we probably got the right time goaltender, right?
Could be looking at the next Patrick Lalime here.
Hey, I mean, dude, didn't he win Rookie of the Year?
I don't know. He won like 15 games straight.
He went to the All-Star game that year, did he not? So
I can't remember.
Anyway, for that night, those 2 nights, you weren't thinking about Thatcher Demko. You were like, wow, we actually have a goaltender that is capable, that is competent, isn't costing us the game. We're not like every time the puck hits his paddle or hits his chest protector, we're freaking out thinking, oh, we don't know enough about this guy. He showed us in 2 games the gist of what he was.
I think he deserves an NHL shot, I think, basically.
I mean, even as a backup, if you throw him in, dude makes nothing. Makes pennies on the dollar.
I mean, we've had backup goaltenders like Louis Domingue and stuff like that. I felt far more comfortable watching Spencer Martin.
Yeah, like, I didn't flinch. I thought, wow, the Canucks are really in this. And until it got tied, I mean, that was a game they should have won. And, I mean, McDavid and Draisaitl, that's a unique combination. So, I mean, yeah, we gave up to 2 of the best players in the NHL, and that's okay. Because even with Demko, he would have needed a 5-alarm save to make definitely the Draisaitl goal. But other than that, I mean, you can't fault the guy. He played absolutely phenomenal. And it's nice to know that there apparently is goaltending depth in the Canucks organization, whether we want to believe it or not.
There you go.
That's what I said. So that's it, folks. We went a little bit over time, but what a great chat with our buddy John at Move Health and Wellness. You guys make sure that you rate and subscribe to our show. As I said, I'm giving away a pair of these bad boys this week. So check them out. Make sure you give us some love, and I will give you some love as well. And yeah, make sure you're subscribing, checking us out. Obviously, we're on Twitter a lot. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and we're kind of a little bit everywhere. Make sure we're in your headphones once a week. And other than that, I think we're going to look forward to a little bit more Canucks hockey this week. And Ted, any final words?
No, sir.
Eat your vegetables, folks. This is Ryan, the PP1 podcast.
Keep your stick on the ice.
Yeah, something.